Comic Book Savant, binge at your leisure, TV show review. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode, we're going to be doing a TV review, and we're going to be jumping into episode 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier over on Disney Plus as part of the Marvel shows. This is the second of many TV shows that they're going to have on the Disney Plus streaming platform. As I talked about in the previous episode, I really enjoyed episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that the Captain America series of movies have been my favorite overall franchise out of the Marvel, I guess the Marvel umbrella of Disney. The Captain America characters world is the one that I like the most. I like spies. I like the espionage and it mixed in with the action with all the superhero stuff. So it's the one I've gravitated to the most out of them all. This episode picks up coming off of the last episode, and we get a chance to see Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan really have just this great chemistry together. It's definitely built up from the scene we left off with when they were fighting Spider-Man and Captain America Civil War in the the train station, and we get to see more of it within this episode as they go on a mission together. I think one of the best action scenes from this episode, we had the great opening scene from episode 1. We have another great action scene when they're fighting against the Flag Smashers on the trucks. But again, I think the one stands out a little bit more from that first episode with that opening sequence with Falcon going through the air, fighting through the canyons and with the helicopters. But this was definitely a solid action scene, and it was a standout for this particular episode. I also liked how we got more background on John Walker, as well as Carly as well with the Flag Smashers. You kind of get a glimpse into their history, since we really didn't see much on the Flag Smashers or John Walker in the first episode. We do get introduced to them and start their story start, which is important because this series, like with WandaVision, I think we had 9-10 episodes. With this, we only have 6, though they're longer, but still it seems like we have to get jump started with these elements we kept seeing in the trailers building up to the show. So, it was definitely, that was the one thing I could say that might have been disappointing from the first episode, that we didn't get to see much of either of those characters, but we get a good dose of them in this episode, which is much appreciated. We're also introduced to Isaiah Bradley, a soldier that was tested and experimented on back in 1942, and to create a prototype of the formula that ended up being used on Steve Rogers, that turned him into Captain America. One comic book series, if you want to know Isaiah's story, is Truth, Red, White, and Black. It was a 7-issue limited series that was released way back in 2003. It was written by Robert Morales and drawn by Carl Baker. So if you want to get his story, it's definitely, that's the trade that you would want to pick up, or the individual issues, depending where you get your comics from. I think the trade is readily available, like digitally, for you to find on like Comixology. I don't know how readily available the print copy of the trade is. It might be something that Marvel's putting into print because they're using a character in this series. I'm not exactly sure. I never originally read the comic book series, but I am looking out to pick that up myself, because I always heard good things about it. I just never got around to reading because I was just covering so much other stuff. But I definitely want to seek it out now to give it a read. And the reason why meeting Isaiah ends up being so important, not just in this episode or in this series overall, it sets up a lot of stuff. If you follow the behind the scenes in the Marvel universe, Feige has talked about for years that he wanted to set up the Young Avengers. One of the founding members of the Young Avengers is who we were introduced to in this episode rather briefly, was Isaiah's grandson, Eli. He later's become Patriot, which is a founding member of the Young Avengers. So now if we lay out the landscape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we have Cassie Lang, which ends up being Stature, which is a founding member of the Young Avengers. We have Kate that's coming up in the Hawkeye series. We have her as Hawkeye. We have Eli on the board now as Patriot. So we're getting introduced to these key founding members are getting introduced via in very small roles right now, but I think they're going to be coming more into prominence down the road in the cinematic universe, because we know Feige wants the Young Avengers. Now it just remains to be seen, will they have a movie, or will they have a Disney Plus series, or maybe they might have a mini series in Disney Plus and then elevate to the movies, because he did say with these television shows they'll be seamless. Certain characters we might be introduced to and get their backstories on a Disney Plus show, and then they'll elevate it, and then you'll see them pop up with within a movie. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out over the next few years. I don't know if I don't think we'll get that Young Avengers movie in phase 4, because that's currently is in play now, but I would not be surprised somewhere in phase 5 we get a Young Avengers movie and or both a Disney Plus show. But I digress on that. So it was cool to see Eli and Isaiah introduced in the show and started to see them being put into play. It's also interesting to know that Bucky knew and even fought against Isaiah back when he was Winter Soldier, and he never told Steve or Sam about any of this until now, when Bucky was taking Sam to meet Isaiah. So that was an interesting part of Bucky's history that we weren't aware of, that we get revealed here. Again, like I was saying too, and I also forgot about too, when I was talking about the introduction of the Young Avengers, we have Stature, which is Cassie, which we were introduced with the Ant-Man films. Now we have Speed, which is Tommy Maximoff from WandaVision, Wiccan, Billy from WandaVision. Then we got Kate Bishop that's going to be introduced in the Hawkeye show. Pretty much the team is in position. Now I can't remember what actress was recast. They aged Cassie up during Endgame with another actress, and I think that same actress is going to play Cassie in the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So we're going to see either the same actress or a new actress playing that Cassie Lang role, but we know she's aged up from Endgame. We don't know what's going on with Speed and Wiccan just yet, because what they were with the end of WandaVision, before they went off from the spell, they were like 10-11-ish years old. We don't know what's going to happen in like Doctor Strange in the the Multiverse of Madness. We don't know what that might end up with and where they'll end up age-wise, because they were teen heroes. So if they age them up to like maybe 16, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But it's interesting to see how Kevin Feige is definitely putting the pieces right in front of us in plain sight. And for some people that are more casual and just are getting into the MCU through the movies and don't know the history from the comics, won't know what he's slowly been setting up in plain sight to have that bigger reveal down the road, which we've seen him do that multiple times with different characters. I think the scene that made this episode for me is the scene with Dr. Rayner talking to Bucky and Sam. That was really good, and I love the reveal at the end of the episode as well, where Sam and Bucky come to the conclusion that the next episode they have to go to talk to Zemo. I thought that was just really cool, and it brings everything so full circle. Just far as Zemo's history with Bucky coming out of Civil War, Sam as well, that he's being so resistant to even go down that road because he's worried about Bucky, but it's kind of like they know it's something that they have to do, so it's going against both of their initial thoughts and feelings to even confront or go down that road, but they know it's something at this point like they kind of have to do. So it was a lot of different elements that were brought in, and they covered a lot of different sections in this world within this episode, which is good. I'm really loving the casting of the different characters, how they're playing so well off one another. Wyatt Russell definitely, it's interesting to see how his character develops because, John Walker is not the most likable of a character. If you know him from the comics and his origins, how he started out, it's going to be really interesting to see how Wyatt Russell. I'm not familiar with much of his work. This is my first exposure to him. But like when I heard he got cast, I was like, Wyatt Russell. I know his dad. Love his dad as an actor, but I haven't seen him act. So I'm super curious to see how he progresses with the development of the character throughout the series. But it was a good light introduction to him as well as Carly, that's being played by Erin Kellerman. She really stuck out to me in the Solo movie. Some people detest that movie. I enjoy it. I think it's just like a fun movie. I liked what I saw of her there, and I think she has a certain charisma to her. So I'm really interested also to see how her character plays out as this series goes along, for me as well. Overall, I would say this one I would give a 7.75 out of 10. I feel like it was a good follow-up to the first episode. I think I felt a little higher about the first episode than this episode, because it was a lot of moving parts. We were establishing this world we already know, but layering in and introducing new characters and scenarios into it. So I think it's been done extremely well. Again, I feel like everything with this show is, as much as I did like and enjoy WandaVision, I feel like everything with this show is a little bit more tighter, and more cohesive. I know it was different things we found out after the fact with WandaVision about things had to be changed because of the pandemic and the budget was ballooning and things like that. So they had to condense certain storylines and things here. This definitely seems more cohesive, consistent across the board, because we know it was one writer's team throughout. It was one director directing. She was directing all the episodes. So it has a more consistent flow from episode to episode so far. And it has a consistent vision. So just overall, I feel like it's more consistent for me, how it flows from storyline to storyline, episode to episode, 2 episodes in. So I am thoroughly enjoying it. I can't wait to see what happens next with this next episode in them confronting Zemo. And it's crazy. That's already episode 3. So after next week, we only have 3 more left. So it's like this is kind of whizzing by, where I felt like WandaVision felt like a slow burn. This feels like, maybe I'm not gonna say a runaway train, but it is going so quickly because so much is being covered from episode to episode with the longer runtime. So I'm enjoying it so far. So I can't wait to see what comes next. But that's all I really have for you guys for this episode. I hope you're enjoying these breakdowns. It's so many different shows that are coming out now. Far as how I'm looking at the format of doing the binge at your leisure TV show reviews for the Marvel shows and the Star Wars shows, when they come back, I will do these episode breakdowns. And I guess it depends on how I feel with other shows, because it does take a lot to break down and do these for every show that's coming out. I know, like, what is it? I swear to you guys, I've wrote up the notes for The Boys season 1, and I never recorded that video of the season 1 review. I'm still going to do it. It's still on tab for me to do it. I have to watch season 2. Then it's Invincible that's out now. And some other shows you guys have recommended to me that are on the different various streaming services. Jupiter's Legacy. It's a bunch of stuff out there. So certain ones I might just do an overall season review of. And I will also in the Marvel, because that's what you guys, when I did the poll originally, you said you wanted me to do Star Wars episode breakdowns and like the Disney Plus Marvel shows. So those I'm gonna pretty much keep to doing those, but some of the other shows might not get that attention just because it'll monopolize so much time. And I still have retro movie reviews I want to bring to you guys, because that was something you recommended you wanted to see from me, and I have a ball doing those. And I got to do some comic reviews at some point. We're coming, things are lightening up out of the pandemic, and all these shows are flooding out. All these movies are finally coming out. So summer is normally like the busiest time for me. It's even busier now because so much stuff is just flooding into the space. So I'm gonna try my best to cover it for you guys. So just keep on the lookout and bear with me. Some of these will be delayed, of course, just because of I'm not gonna flood you guys with content, so it'll be kind of spaced out. So just hang in there with me, and yeah, I'm here for you guys. But that's all I really have for you guys for this episode. As always, if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Comic Book Savant. You can also just go to the website for all the information, which is comicbooksavant.com. If you want to support the work that I do, I have a Patreon as well, which you can find at patreon.com/Comic Book Savant as well. If you can't contribute there, that's fine. If you retweet out when I post episodes, contribute. If you're in the Facebook group, you can also just drop a line there or send feedback to me, comicbooksavant@gmail.com, about the things you like on episodes or things you want me to cover in the future. All that contributes to me as well in bringing content to you guys. So any of that is much appreciated. But again, that's all I have for you guys for this episode. I hope you all are staying safe out there. Until next time, you guys take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.